Well, I am so happy to be here amongst you all discussing this very, really important topic um, in our nation, really. And I think, if we don't have diversity in STEM moving forward, we're not going to be the nation that we want to be. And I will say part of the reason that I left the scientific area and went into administration is really because of these types of topics. When you think about the changes that needs to be made, really, you could do a lot of the scientific aspects, but it's the people in the science that's going to make the most important parts of it. And I felt policy changes, discussions, things like this is what really moves the needle. We're always going to have people making great innovations, but we need people and different types of people to do that. So, without further ado, because you don't want to hear from me, you want to hear from our esteemed panelists. So I'll start right here to my immediate right, and then we'll go down through.
I am Jesse Hips. I'm actually a transplant to Cincinnati. I am senior scientist and talent acquisition manager for Michelman, which is located in Blue Ash. We're a global, specialty chemical company. You will find the kinds of products that Michelman produces in such kinds of products as, that little lid on your Oreo cookies that you like to peel up and then seal down, and that's us. We help a lot of people make their products better, and at the same time, I spent 15 years of my life as a STEMS missionary in the Deep South. But this has been an area of passion in terms of education and development for over 35 years.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Christopher Bowles. I'm a PhD student here in biomedical engineering, second year. I do my research at the Cincinnati Children's Hospital. Specifically, I'll save you guys all the technical difficulties, but specifically in rare diseases with babies, but applying math to that. I'm also very involved in the National Society of Black Engineers. So I'm the vice president here and also the regional secretary, which covers 5 or 6 states in our region. And yeah, that's a little bit about me.
All right, let me try this one. Good morning. My name is Maribel Cortez Conde. I'm actually Mexican. My current degree is computer science from Mexico, so the STEM starts there. My STEM journey. I'm currently working as a technical program manager in GeoSpace, currently supporting the business for all the physical security, cybersecurity, products, everything related to security. Very committed to STEM education because STEM education brought me here, thanks to my dad who guided me to take that one. And I'm very committed with the community.
Hi, my name is Husina Tafera. I'm currently a sophomore at Anderson High School, and I'm so grateful to be here today. I'm also sophomore class president, and something that I have done is I've organized a winter clothing drive, and we've received hundreds of clothes and donations, and all the clothes will go back to our local elementary schools for kids in need. I'm also vice president of Robotics Club, and we have a competition this Saturday, so yeah.
Good.
So the order I started in was somewhat strategic because the first question actually is for you, Cecina. Can you share your journey into STEM and what motivated you to pursue this path?
Yeah, so my journey into STEM has somewhat been a short one, but I would like to start at the beginning on how I got interested in STEM. So how that started was I watched the movie Hidden Figures, and it's a movie about 3 young Black women who faced challenges at their time at NASA. And while I watched that movie, I was inspired and empowered because they faced so many challenges, but they still pursued their dreams. And so when I saw that, I was empowered and motivated to be like them. And so I always channel my inner Mary whenever I face challenges like them. And something else that I really love about STEM is I love the aspect of solving puzzles. And to me, that's kind of what STEM is. It's just this big riddle, and we're all trying to find a way to solve our problems. And whether that problem is anything that we can kind of find. And there's so many ways to go about doing that, which is another reason why I really love that, because you can never be wrong in your pursuit.
Thank you. And to our other panelists, what inspired you to stay engaged in STEM education and collaboration?
So the biggest thing that helped me stay in STEM was probably NSBE. So back in my undergrad, I was very involved in NSBE as well, but like the people that helped me get through my computer engineering degree were the president, VP, and my calculus class. So they came up and they were like, hey, we have a group of other Black engineers that kind of, work together to like get through college together. And I was out in Colorado, so there was, very few, it was less diverse out there. So it helped me feel welcome, and I just kind of wanted to continue that. So I worked at Lockheed for a year and still stayed in NSBE, trying to like reach out to elementary schools, middle schools, everything K through 12, just giving back to the community. And from there, I just wanted to keep going. So that kind of like led me in my role to the regional level to help out everybody in the region, basically give back to what gave back to me.
Go ahead.
No, please.
Just real quick. As I mentioned at the beginning, my journey with the STEM started in Mexico. My real passion, I wanted to be a teacher. But my dad, in that time, were the computers, boomer and things like, I had to go to the university to do computer science, even though I didn't like it, right? But the thing, and he was a very, education-oriented person, because he knew he couldn't get a professional degree. He was a technical, very successful in his area, but he was very conscious about, if you don't have at least a university degree, you're not gonna go above and beyond, right? And that's true. So he said, you need to eat before going to be a teacher. Once you have your degree, you can be a teacher. But at the end of the day, when I graduated, I started earning a lot of money. And then I say, well, I can combine the two of them. So 25 years now, I'm working with CPS teachers. In geospace, I'm very involved with this new program called GNX Engineers, going to the high schools, talking to the students and tell them, hey, sometimes you have your dreams are in one point, but you need to have a reality in your mindset to say, in order to get to my dream, I need to eat, I need to work, I need money if I don't have it right now, right? So that has opened my mindset, and even to my daughters, they are going and doing and pursuing the same thing. Sometimes the dreams, yeah, we have to pursue them, but hopefully all the kids get it. And then kind of, to me, STEM, and not necessarily only a STEM. Now we are putting arts too, right, to be a STEM. We need to have all of that in our lives. So it's just enjoying, but also making sure that you can get there faster.
Thank you.
Well, I think they have a wonderful journey, because mine was nothing like that. When people ask me this, in fact, I got my first serious job when they said, Jesse, tell me about yourself. And I opened up like this. I'm Jesse Hips, and I'm a bricklayer. And they fell out on the floor. And they said, after you said that, we knew we wanted you to join our team. And it is true, I am a bricklayer, but not in the traditional sense. I graduated high school with a high school diploma. I could not read. I could not do basic math. And I could not write a simple sentence. So how in God's name do you go from that to having patents and inventions and businesses and writing books and things of that particular nature? It's called the process of self-discovery. My older brother came, when it came time for college, I had a prayer like this: God, if you're real, I sure need a second chance, because I can't read. And I don't blame the teachers for it. This one's on me. 2 weeks later, my older brother showed up, and he didn't ask me if I wanted to go to college. Sometimes you got to come get us. he said, "You're going to college," and he took me to college. Benedict College in Columbia, South Carolina opened the door. And in there, in fact, it was the first place that I ever saw black scientists. Never seen one in the places that I'd grown up. And there was a mentor that yelled out of the window, "Little boy, you could be something if you get off of that corner." So he came and got me and had my work study switched to his department. That's where I got involved in research. When I left Benedict College, in fact, I learned algebra. I can take you and show you the spot. And I think what keeps me engaged is the fact that I've had these moments where the light goes on, and you can see it in a young person's heart where the light goes on, and it's independent of where they come from. And the light went on for algebra. I can take you to this day and show you the exact spot because I danced on the table. And then, like you, I went around helping everybody. I wanted everybody to be free. And so that kept me engaged. But when I left Benedict College, I actually graduated and I had the highest paying job of the entire class at Benedict. It was there. I thought I wanted to be in medicine, but I got hooked on research. And you know what? I stay engaged because I can't think of a better job where I get to fail 90% of the time. I ain't got to be right but 10%, and I still get a check. I still get a check. And in fact, if I'm not failing, something's wrong because I'm not being up as many failures as I can. It sharpens the questions you ask. And if you ask enough right questions, guess what? Nature in its beauty rolls back the veil and you see the answers. And so that's why I stay engaged. That's my passion.
Great answers to those questions. I think the thing that I heard the theme of that really resonated with me is the fact that there's something that someone got you, to put it as Jesse put it. And so oftentimes someone will point out a flaw, but then don't get you. They'll say, "Hey, you need to be better at this," and then walk away. And unfortunately, too many people hear that narrative and they say, "Well, this is not for me then because no one came and got me." And so, yes, everyone on here, someone came and got you, whether it was Hidden Figures, whether it was a professor, somebody came and got you. And that's an important aspect that needs to happen. So I'm going to move on to the next question. And this one is for Sosina and Chris. How did you navigate through the educational pathways to enter STEM fields? And were there specific challenges or support systems that significantly influenced your journey?
Do you want to go first?
You can go first.
Okay. So I haven't officially majored in the STEM field, but so far I have taken advantage of the opportunities given to me at my local high school. So I do take a computer science class, and I am a part of robotics, which I enjoy very much. I love the atmosphere and the environment there. And most importantly, the support system that keeps me going is my family. No matter what, they'll always be with me, and that allows me to be more independent in the choices that I make. So I know that no matter what decisions I do make, whether that is pursuing STEM in the future, that they will be in my corner, and that keeps me motivated as well.
Yeah, similar answer. So my freshman year of college, I was originally studying aerospace engineering and mechanical engineering. And then I failed physics. I was like, this is too hard. I'll do computer engineering. I don't know what I was thinking because they're both like, yeah, exactly. It was worse. Yes. So, but luckily, like that switch to computer engineering brought me like a very good support system. So some of the people I met that looked like me were in that class, and like Jesse said, they came and got me, and like showed me that like we can motivate each other to continue. So my support system is my family as well. They keep me motivated. My dad was in IT, So that kind of pushed me every day. Like when he was deployed, he'd call me, Chris, don't fail any more classes, don't switch any more majors, just study harder. So that's what I did. I studied harder. Going throughout college, I realized, after a few internships, I realized that I was more motivated after like getting the right support system, and that just kind of pushed me to not want to stop, at my bachelor's degree. But I didn't want to go to college during COVID, so I took a break, worked at Lockheed, and realized like going throughout college, like if I had professors that taught the beginning classes, entry-level classes that, were more diverse, more willing to help, and cared more about like, teaching students so that way they can like see the full way through and not like, we got to cut the numbers, then that's what kind of like pushed me to get a PhD as well. So that's what kept me involved in STEM. So.
Thank you. So we talked a little bit about community. So the next question is for Maribel and Chris. Can you talk more about how organizations like the National Society of Black Engineers and the Society of Hispanic Professional Engineers helped shape your journey?
I can go first. Well, for SHEP, the Society of Hispanic Professional Engineers, I've been involved with them, and I love the organization because the spirit of the community or of that group is family. So we call all of us, we are familia. So that family is important, mostly in these days, right? We need to get into the basics of a family. And I'm not gonna say family as the father and mother. If you have it, you're blessed. If you don't, your family is your friends. In my case, my family is my friends. My original family is in Mexico. But my current family is my friends, my neighbors sometimes, right? The ones who watch my kids and all that. But for the Society of Hispanic Engineers, this organization is in every university that could have Hispanics. So UC has a UC SHEP organization. We partner with them. We support them in their journeys. They have an activity called Noches, or Noche de Ciencias, Night of Science. So we go to the high schools and teach the students how to do projects and through play and fun activities, we engage them and explain them that is engineering, right? And engineering. And we have helped other universities create the same. And I can see like there is no rivalry if you are a SHEP member. The UC SHEP students go and help the Miami University SHEP students. So we are familiar, right? At the end of the day, at some point when we graduate, regardless, we might be ended up in the same organization, and we have to continue supporting each other and pulling each other up through the chain. The organization I work with also has a membership that is now getting their Hispanic young professionals through SHEP. So it's kind of, to me, it's kind of doing that cycle where we go to the high schools, we talk to these students, they see people like them, enroll them into SHEP. There is also young SHEPtinas and also. So these kids know each other in the city, and we continue through the process and then hopefully engage them through those events and be part of the organizations. But to me, it's a familia. That's what is great. It's a great opportunity to work with SHEP because we have also regions. We have the national convention and the organizations like P&G, GE, there are other EY also. They go to the conference and get the students from there.
Yeah, similar. NSBE, that's my family. NSBE is everything to me. So when I joined NSBE at University of Colorado, there was a few of us. Then they made me president. I was like, we need to get more people in here. Like, we need more people to experience this because that's how we continue increasing diverse members in engineering. So University of Colorado, I brought in more people. By the time I left, it went from a chapter of 6 to 35. So I saw that impact, did the same thing as a professional NSBE member, just like reaching out to the community. Then it was during COVID, so I was doing a lot of Zoom calls with local universities and everything. But NSBE, like, I definitely wouldn't be here today without NSBE. The first black scientist, black professor in engineering that I met was because of NSBE, and it was because I was speed walking through the university section of the career fair. Because I'm looking at the companies, I'm done, now I'm just walking around looking for my friends, go through like the university side, and Dr. Corey Baker from University of Kentucky, he's at USC currently, but he kind of stopped me. He's like, do you like basketball? And I was like, yeah, I do. And he's like, if you listen to my spiel on, doing a PhD, then like I'll fly you out to University of Kentucky, go to a basketball game, bourbon tour, everything will be paid for. And I was like, free trip, so just like being at the NSBE conference and meeting him as a black engineering computer science professor showed me that like, maybe I could do that too. And the tour just taught me so much. It shows that like, as a professor, you can be like extremely passionate and participate in stuff like NSBE or SHIP and, still have that balance. So that's like my ultimate goal. And I don't think, I'll ever leave NSBE and stuff like that. So.
Can I add to that?
Absolutely.
Because I'm going to put a plug in here for Novashape. You're a part of Novashape.
professor. He has locks, he has really big piercings, tattoos, and everything. And he answered the call in just like a tank top. I was like, oh, it's a pleasure, Dr. Joe. He's like, all right, stop. He's like, be honest, be real. He's like, this is just gonna be a conversation. He's like, I wanna see y'all succeed. And this is like, I didn't even get to finish my first sentence. So like, he's just telling me to be real, be comfortable. He obviously was comfortable, so like he was trying to get us on that level. And just that conversation with him of like having these ideas from like space debris or anything of that nature, it'll be hard to get that going. So like his mentorship to me has kind of like also pushed me along with many other events to go to grad school. So that way, like, you know, when I'm in his steps, or even currently right now, you know, I can mentor to undergrad students, mentor to, you know, other entry-level software engineers coming in. So mentorship, and it's very important to me.
Well, I will tell you, I've spent a lot of time mentoring. In fact, I built a nonprofit when I went to Alabama. I left DuPont, moved to Alabama with my family, and had a crazy idea of building a nonprofit in partnership with the American Chemical Society around Project Seed. Because a couple of years prior, a kid from the projects had a $150 million home run. And nobody expected that. And I started thinking, could we, the way we teach science in America, be culling our future because of where they come from, or using GPAs and all of these kinds of things? And that's how the university system works. I'm not faulting. It is what we have. And so when I got there, I built an organization. And in Alabama, you got to wrap things in the faith base, because if you do it any other way, they don't trust you. So you got to speak the language of the people locally. So we had a faith-based organization that could preach Pentecostal and Baptist, but in the core of it was STEMs. So you got internships in engineering and biomedical research labs, all of those kinds of things. But we built that strategy around what is the end for young people. The end for everybody is a place called the world of work. I don't see any adults in here living in the basement of their parents, okay? You all have your own end. So if you begin to design from that perspective, the way you engage, and I realize this is how chemical engineers think. They always start with the end, and then they back up and build the experiment. Chemists, we start from the beaker, we just want a bigger beaker. So you go out in the plant out there, we got a big hot plate and a big beaker floating around. That's the way chemists think. But we started from that end, and this is the power of internship, of mentoring. That strategy became so successful, we threw GPA completely out of the window. And we started and developed a concept called demonstrated motivational interest. And we let kids tell us stories about their encounter with STEMs. It had a 98% correlation coefficient with how well they did in the internships. The correlation between GPA and work performance doesn't exist. And I'm going like, wow. This thing was so powerful. We watch high school students tell their teacher, we'll come to school on Saturdays and Sundays just so we can get the school year out of the way so we can do research. You realize we just doubled the budget of the school system because the kids wanted to show up? What would that look like? What if we could ignite that passion and re-engage our young people? Well, you don't have to push them. They'll go on their own. Mentorships and internships is the key to transform America. We just don't have the guts to do it. I started realizing, wait a minute, where do you get this? You get it in grad school. Oh, so we don't have to reinvent the wheel. We just have to figure out how to move grad school back to K-12. That's what we got to figure out. And how do you engage teachers? We demonstrated in that model we could raise teachers' salaries. Now remember, this is a church organization doing this, right? We could raise teachers' salaries by $5,000 a year. It didn't cost the school systems a dime because the money's already in the system. And I'm going like, wow. The cost to reach a child should be roughly through a teacher who recognizes that they are scientists, and that is the difference. I may be getting off script here. That is the difference between K-12 and the university, the higher ed system. All of the scientists in the university system believe they're scientists. All of the people in K-12 believe they're historians. And I'm gonna tell you what I heard a kid say to me. I don't wanna read about building bridges, let's go build a bridge. If you get young people engaged in that arena, you won't have to make them go. Because it's hard to deny your purpose. You can't stop that fire once it's lit. The problem you'll have is being able to continue to provide enough kindling to keep it going, because they'll be consuming it so fast. And they then become mentors. Because the best evangelist, this is what I discovered in the South, for young people, is another young person.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah, and I'm going to tell you something pretty kind of that touches my heart. And this is mostly being a mentor and also being a mentee. But to be a mentor of Hispanic community is very challenging. Number one, because there are not many Hispanic professionals who wants to be a mentor. Why? Because they don't want to be considered. We have these biases against Hispanics, right? So we are, what is that called in English? We are not productive. So we want to get away from that stigma that we have, right? But to me, it's very important to be a mentor because it's kind of the role model, exactly what you say, right? You see someone who looks like you want to be like that. Normally it's your parents, right? But in the Hispanic community, majority of the Hispanic community is immigrants, undocumented. They cannot be role models, right? For something beyond the high school. So we need mentors and role models that are coming from the companies and from the professional degrees to be the role models for the kids. Then is when it works. So we have to work first on getting those professionals engaged to be role models. It makes a change, of course. I'm also part of the board of directors of the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. And many years ago, like 10 years ago, they asked us to go to Withrow High School to be kind of mentors for some be a mentor for them, right? What I'm going to teach them. Well, the surprise to me was even like, okay, be kind of the parent. Why you are not having lunch today? Because my parents won't sign anything they don't understand. The documents were not translated. So we were pushing into translating documentation for the parents to sign those documents and just to have the kids at least having something to eat in the morning for them to learn. So the mentorship for me, depending on the community, starts to understand what are those challenges and those roadblockers for the students. I'm part of the GeneX Engineers, which takes a long time, going to the high schools and doing this stuff, building the bridge, just to have them engaged. And again, the pictures on the flyers, just the African American students, some of the Asian students. I'm like, where are the Hispanic ones?
We're the Hispanics.
When you see that on the halls, because my own daughter told me, I didn't register, Mom, because it wasn't for me. Just a picture, just an image. So we started putting that one in there. Census, I also help them. Why are not, put the big family so everybody comes and counts, right? So images to attract people is very key. Now, I just read a book that says, don't get a mentor, get a sponsor. And that's something I just learned also for me. Because the sponsor is going to be the person who is going to talk about you when you are not in the room. That's what you have to do. The mentor can tell you, go this way, go that way, go whatever way, right? But the sponsor is the one who's gonna introduce you with your next person or your next opportunity person, right? So, and I have taught that to my daughters, and guess what? They have got every opportunity that they can through their sponsors, and that's great. That's powerful because yes, you can get your mentor, but the sponsor is very, very key, and it's not for free. You have to work a lot to show them that they can. They are going to represent you. They are going to talk to you about you to other people, to the CIO, and you are going to do the job, right? It's not for free, but that's the best thing. There is a book called, I don't recall the author right now, but read that one. It's very powerful. Thank you.
Let me just add, because that's piggyback off, because that's so critical, right? Because you talked about adding value.
Right.
There are times when there are things that I want to learn from people, I'll go serve them.
Right.
And I discovered something in the power of that. Servants actually have access to all people and all resources. When I started in Alabama, I needed the city to help me with the mission I was sent there to do. I didn't own a university, I had no laboratories, I didn't have all of that. But there's an appropriate way to appropriate those resources. And you do it by first being a servant. And when I discovered that, the resources of the city, the business community, the universities, an internship in Alabama when I was doing that program was about $55,000 per laboratory, per child. That's a on them to get there. Believe it, sponsors like that. Because you're saying, I'm here to bring value to your mission.
Right. Totally correct.
So I'm going to ask one last question and open up to the audience. All of you have talked about it a little bit, but Maribel, you talked about it just now, and that's really culture. It's difficult in STEM to talk about culture because we just want to talk about numbers. We want to talk about, well, this is a number, that's a number, and so on and so forth. So the question is, how do you get people in STEM to discuss the difference in culture, that there's a personal aspect as it relates to work, as it relates to how you do things? I've had students from a lot of different parts of the globe. I've been able to graduate in a doctoral program in chemistry. Their dissertation size has been about the same, although the thought process is, well, this one worked harder than the other one and so on and so forth, but there are cultural aspects. I've had Asian students say, well, I work 16 hours a day. That's true, but then you go on hiatus for 2 weeks. So, it works its way out at the end. So how do you bring the cultural aspect into STEM when people really don't want to talk about that piece of it?
Something very important that I've been pushing my organization, because there are many Hispanic engineers in GE, but very few in the computer science field. Something that we are pushing, number one, is we have to be there. If we want a change, we have to be there for everybody to understand what it is, right? Again, I'm talking about the GE Next Engineers program, where majority of the group who is organizing this is, and I'm going to say it, is the white management who doesn't understand the challenges. So we need to bring this diversity in STEM, right? We need to bring everybody to the table to be able, for everybody to understand what are our challenges, right? So once we remove those challenges, then we go to the next level. And then we kind of equate everybody, right? I have to sit down sometime in the DTLP, the Digital Technology Leadership Program, to advocate for someone else to say, hey, the reason why this person is very quiet is because culturally we are quiet. We don't want to talk. One is because probably our English is not as proficient as others. The other one because we don't want, we are ashamed. We normally in our house, my dad was like, the younger people keeps quiet, only the older ones, which is the worst part, right? Because it's respect. It's respect, right? But we need to understand that and to talk to the students and say, we need your ideas. We need to take out of everything that you can provide, because that's important into everything we are doing. Your experience is different, so we need that, right? That's the value that we were talking about. But we need to go through that, like understanding the challenges and explaining to other people that that's the reason why. It's not because I don't have the skill set, it's because in my family, in my culture, be quiet is respect.
I guess for me, I don't have some of that same experience, but for me, I think the first thing is like to be open-minded. So like for myself, growing up, my dad was in the military, so I've lived everywhere, but originally from the Deep South as well. So living in Germany for 2.5 years kind of like started my journey to be open-minded, because I just met a whole bunch of different people, completely different. I had to like immerse myself in their culture. So I think immersing myself in that culture, even though it wasn't, I had to go because my dad was out there, but like I think that's an option that is skipped, in leadership and stuff. You have the option to immerse yourself in, different cultures, be open-minded, but it's not like people choose not to do that. So for myself, I guess as a PhD student, I'll talk to any and everybody. I just love people as a whole, so I like to learn about different backgrounds and stuff. And I tell everybody like my story, because then they can be like, oh, that kind of motivated me. It doesn't matter like who the person is. I just go in to every room, every conversation with an open mind.
Boy, this is a really interesting one. I am no longer participating in supporting white male insecurity. I can't do it. I just can't do it anymore. You don't have to. If I were going to do something, if I were going to do something, it would have happened a long time ago. The fact of the matter is, as I said one time, I called somebody on the phone and they said, "Mama, there's a white man on the phone." And I laughed at that. I'm going, no, baby, you wish you need, we needed a Zoom call. But I've learned to be bicultural. And I'm reading a very interesting book entitled The Questions Are the Answer. Because I want to increase my creativity, and it's about how do I ask questions. And one of the things in it that it challenges, and you will see that innovative people do, is they challenge their own cultural mindset. And so they deliberately put themselves in uncomfortable places. They talk to weird people, they go to weird events, and they engage with weird communities because they need to unlodge themselves that will open their hearts. And I'm going, we all seeking comfort. And comfort is the enemy of creativity and innovation. We look for the level, we want to get to the levels, to the highest levels, and we don't want to do anything anymore. And so I'm realizing to deal with culture, we need candor, and we've got to be open to put ourselves in an uncomfortable situation. Now, I grew up in the South, Deep South. We don't go to white people's churches. But I will tell you, I've served as an elder or deacon and all of those things. And what's funny, my cousin, who is white, looks like me, just different pigmentation, coloration. We met in a black church And he spent most of his life serving in black churches in Chicago, South Side. I spent most of my time in white churches in the suburbs. And I'm sitting there and I'm looking at this and I'm going, wow. Because we both have the power of both perspectives. How powerful is that? In the STEMS field, we couldn't have gotten here unless there were people that were of European descent and heritage that says, I see something in you, come hang out and work with me. And we became. So there's a lot of value in that. That's how we got here. That's how we go forward into the future. I like what the rat said in Ratatouille. Dad says, where are you going? Hopefully into the future. I'd like for us to go together.
So culture is something that I keep really close to me. I was born in Ethiopia and I moved here once I was around 2. And I am surrounded in communities where there are a lot of people who don't look like me. I go to a predominantly white school, so it's kind of hard to keep my values close to me. And sometimes I do forget where I come from, but usually I have my parents to remind me, and I have my family to do that as well. And something that I like to say is that I like to remember where I came from, one, and I like to keep my values close to me, and I don't like to change who I am for anyone. And so when culture comes up in like the workplace or anything, I like to just incorporate that in my everyday and just to remember who I am, and my family and my parents remind me every single day, but it's also important to remind yourself as well.
Greatly appreciate those answers. Now we're going to open the floor for questions from the audience. And don't be bashful or shy.
We'll do 2 now, and then after the deep dive, we'll have time for a few more. Whitney had a question if no one else does. I can read her question.
Please do.
She wants to know, she wants to ask a question about the growth and development of affinity organizations, specifically in a climate where there's legislation to make groups like SHEP, NSBE, Nova Shea essentially illegal. And I know we talked about that in the last session, in December, but new perspective, what we'd like to hear from this panel on the impact of legislation on the groups that many are involved.
There were more Chinese people at the last Nobuche meeting that I went to, and white people at Nobuche meetings. So who are they legislating? And I don't know about anybody else, but here's the truth. For every one of the scientists and folk that you see here are going to aspire to be, in China, they're 10 to 1. How do I win? 10 to 1. Can't. Doesn't matter. When you draw the timeline out, when I die, there's still 10 people working. So we value the power of community. The reason you see the excellence that we are getting is because of these communities. I have a saying in my family. I come from a large Southern family, and I have a large Southern family in Ohio. Okay, I have 7 children. I have 20 grandkids, and I still look fabulous. And we have this saying in the family: we're more powerful together than we are apart. And that doesn't matter where the conflict occurs, we will let nothing tear us apart. So legislate. That's kind of like getting guns out of America. That ain't gonna happen. So it might be illegal to get together, but we'll just go back to doing what we've always done. And you know, when you go underground, you become even more powerful. So we will just continue to meet. We'll continue to talk and develop.
Anybody?
That's it.
We'll take one more question before the break. I'll bring the mic to you.
tangential to that question, is there any kind of conversation regarding, diversity in STEM kind of regionally here? I know that in Florida and some other states, funding restriction is happening. Maybe there's some laws happening to kind of get rid of some of the protection for diversity. Are we seeing that here? Is there any conversation happening in this area?
Could you repeat the question? Old ears.
Is there any conversation or are we hearing any discussion about diversity in STEM or education in this area being in danger like it is in other places in the country?
Israel, here's a reality. Come 2035, 2040, my grandchildren and Latino children will be 50% of the population or greater. Who's going to do the science? We're like 7% of our whole population in this country. Who's going to do the science? Children from China can go home. I went to a conference in Chicago, and the Chinese government had a booth that was literally the full length of that convention center. I know they paid an enormous amount of money to go get their PhD scientists and researchers from Harvard, Yale, and MIT. I remember them giving like $300 million to this top researcher at an American university, and then he went to Stanford and all of these other places, and now China has a biotech industry. Here's the deal. If we don't go with what we got, ain't nobody going. This is the team you got. If you want to be in a business in America, this is the team you got. We've already been to Asia. We've already tried that. And by the way, I've worked for DuPont. I remember all of the innovative products that we developed there. And DuPont's going to fight the Chinese government? How do you do that? You want to go to war with China? How do you do that? You can't. So you know what DuPont said when they decided to just take the patent, make the product, and sell it in their market? You know what the message was? Well, if we don't get involved with them, they're going to do it without us. So we might as well get something out of it. Nations around the world have gotten a taste, and they want to win too. And I'm going to say this, all of our African students that we see in America, in 10 years, 15 years, you probably won't see them. You know where they'll be going to school? They'll go to China. So how do you compete? At the end of the day, it's going to be about competition. It's like the governor of Alabama saying, we're not going to have any Latino folk running around Alabama, so they ran them all off. But guess what? There was nobody there to pick the soybean, to pick the corn, to pick the fruits, to pick the vegetables. Guess what happened in Alabama? The governor backed up off of that legislation. We don't want migrant workers. So go ahead, go through it. The end result is, in the largest scale of things, if we go that way, we don't win. We'll just become more divided. And as an old guy who has listened to older guys before me talk this, when I would say, I don't want to hear that mess, I got this new I'm here now saying what the old guys are saying. Either we come together or we die together. Either way, we're going together.
I'll add a little bit to that. And so one of the aspects that I get a chance to do in my administrative role is talk about Senate bills and things that are affecting our nation and our state specifically. And there are some laws in the process that are looking to at least diminish some ways or change language at least in terms of identity-based programs and scholarships and things of that sort. So in my chemistry background, it becomes very easy because I could talk data all day long. The data clearly says this, and then people say, oh, okay, the data clearly says that. And in science, we move in that direction generally. In my new role, I've learned that I'm no longer a natural scientist or a chemist. Now I've moved into the social science realm. And now it's about the motivation of people. And I've learned that people are not necessarily motivated by charts and graphs or economy or whatever. People are typically motivated by how they feel in the moment. And those feelings change. And as Jesse alluded to, our nation is changing. That's not something that we can stop per se. The data on that is very, very clear. But people have a hard time with what that's going to mean for them in a specific moment. And so they yell, stop. I don't wanna. And the more and more I do these jobs, the more and more I learn, you know, whether you're 5, 15, 25, or 55, you still have that 3-year-old in you that go, I don't wanna. And how do you get out of those spaces? And how do you navigate people out of those spaces to be productively moving forward is what we'd like our leaders to be able to do, except for the fact that some of our leaders are yelling, I don't want to either.
Yeah.
And that becomes a really big challenge. And it's a challenge that we all are going to have to participate in if we're going to move as a nation moving forward. But we do have those issues in the state of Ohio. Our rural environments and our urban environments are living different places right now. Social media, I think, has caused a divide in terms of, you know, you could live your life, and I tell students this all the time, so I'm going to put Sosina on spot. So I'm sorry, I'm going to put you on the spot. I'm literally going to put you on the spot. Have you ever heard the name Walter Cronkite?
No.
Okay, I didn't think you did. So a long time ago, Walter Cronkite was one of those individuals that you got your information from. And they would say, who told you that? Walter Cronkite said it. And everybody understood that if Walter Cronkite said that, then there might be some truth to that. We listen to the same set of facts. Nowadays, people have all sorts of different facts, and it's no longer a person, it's a source. Where'd you get that from? I got a push notification on my phone. CNN said it. Or Fox News said it. Mm-hmm. We never lived in a space where an organization said something. A person said something, and we believed the person. And now we're in this other space where there are no people. There's push notifications and all these other things, but we're living different worlds. And so now, how do we get on the same page about what the real situation is? Because we're living different truths. And we have to figure out a way how to navigate that. And I don't have all the answers. The students have said, well, if I don't know who Walter Cronkite is, and I don't have credible sources, I don't know what it is, how do I know? And I don't have an answer to that question either, because I only knew Walter Cronkite, or Dan Rather, or Tom Brokaw, whoever it was that you listened to. And to be honest, I still listen to the same sources I've always listened to. And the new things the students listen to, that's junk to me. But that's not right either. That's not the way this is supposed to be. So we got to get on the same page at some point if we're going to move together.
Thank you. So at this point, we're going to take a few minutes. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to do a deeper dive. We're going to present some of the research on some of that we have into some of the educational space. We're going to do a few spotlights, and then if there are more questions, we'll have time, and then we'll invite you to the next session. We want to thank KeyBank for being a presenting sponsor for this year's series. Yeah, we're going to go on break, but before we go, I'm sure Lorenzo's had the camera on the whole time, so I'm a chemical engineer, and James and I have a running discussion. So I think in front of all these witnesses, Jesse has given us a reason that has verified my argument all along that chemical engineers are better than chemists. And so with that, we will go to break. Thank you.
You didn't even let me get the last word.
Yeah, I know, and he said that publicly.
Some of our panelists will be here, right? Are you hanging around? Well, yeah, we do want to give anyone, especially any of the panelists or the moderator who has to leave. But we'll be back, and you can get your last words.
Let him have it. Don't let him get
But
away.
I'm taking it for now, at least until we get back.